The days of visitation are come. The days of recompense are come. Israel shall know it. The prophet is a fool. The spiritual man is mad. For the multitude of thine iniquity and the great hatred. The watchman of Ephraim was with God, but the prophet is a snare of a fowler in all his ways, and hated in the house of God. They have deeply corrupted themselves, as in the days of Gibeah. Therefore he will remember their iniquity. He will visit their sins. I found Israel like grapes in the wilderness. I saw your fathers as the first stripe in the fig tree at her first time. But they went to Belapor, separated themselves unto that shame, and their abominations were according as they loved. As for Ephraim, their glory shall fly away like a bird from the birth, and from the womb, and from the conception. Though they spring up their children, they will bereave them. There shall not be a man left. Yea, woe also to them when I depart from them. All their wickedness is in Gilgal, I hated them for the wickedness of their doings. I will drive them out of my house. I will love them no more. All the princes are revolters. Ephraim is smitten. Their root is dried up, and they shall bear no fruit. Yea, though they bring forth, yet I will slay even the beloved of their womb. My God will cast them away because they did not hearken to him, and they shall be wanderers among the nations. Multi-level prophecy from Hosea 9. Hosea means business. The prophet is hated in the church. The man of God is considered a mad fool. The prophet is considered a fool. None listen. All went the way of abomination. All went the way of hatred and iniquity. All suffered the wrath of God. Why? Why did they suffer the wrath of God? Well, this is a question I have for today, and you know, we know what happened to Israel. We know what happened to Ephraim. We know what happened, how God made them wanderers among the nations. Made his own people wander, put them in sackcloth and ash, or put them in rags rather, and had them wander until they would repent, until they were severely chastised over and over and over again, severely. And one might ask, has there been another people chastised as severely? And the answer is yes. The story of humanity is that humanity has been chastised thoroughly. Now, what is the wickedness and abomination and self-corruption that they talk about? What is the self-corruption that when the Bible says they've corrupted themselves, what does that mean? That means they are workers of iniquity, that of their own free will, they have corrupted themselves with other gods, with the occult, with the pagans, with the witchcraft. They have corrupted themselves in those circles of shame, much in the same way the United States corrupted itself, or that the Western industrialized nations corrupted themselves. Whenever I see a coat and tie, I see, they corrupted themselves. That's why when I see a coat and tie in church, I think, yep, corrupt through and through. Either that or a hapless mind-controlled dupe. For that uniform is the uniform of corruption. I've said this before and, got some amusing responses. Yeah, people tend to be amused by that sort of thing. I've said it before. To me, the tie is an upside-down obelisk pointing below. The coat is that of a shackle. It's tailored, and it's not exactly that you can move in it. The clothing is geared for industrial travel, for being shackled to machines. The uniforms, well, the uniform of the military may make sense. But uniforms nonetheless tend to be satanic. I.e., I'm thinking of the Nazi goose-stepping in their brilliant uniforms. Nothing better than a SS man in a uniform, that cut a striking figure. Well, the same can be said of any upside-down pentangle that one would wear around their neck. Would that be the highest gift, the highest honor that one could garner would be an upside-down pentangle, an upside-down pentagram, which is, of course, the goat's head, which points straight to hell. Stars are not upside down. When you draw a star, it's right side up. No, the only way it's upside down is if it signifies the occult. So does that mean that the army, the medals of honor, have gone, all represent what you've done for Satan and the occult? That when you made the sacrifice of your life, it was a satanic sacrifice. I'm not saying there's a way to get out of it. I'm not saying that the people that receive these medals even know what they mean. To them, they're in the battlefield. Most of them, they do something very heroic. They save others by sacrificing themselves. They give the highest, it's the highest honor. And even the Bible says, the greatest thing anyone can do is lay his life down for his friends. That's the true test of friendship, the true test of faith, and the true test of a man. That separates the men from the cowards, the men from the boys. Well, it's all jumbled up, isn't it? It's really hard to say anything about anything. What I've been fighting lately is cynicism. I found that, and this is probably why I was reading from Fenelon and why I was trying to, kind of encourage myself, and then you, if you're on along, the ride with me, to, give everything over to God and become giddy like a child again. God is a taskmaster. I find that oftentimes when I don't feel like producing a show or whatever, I'm up, at all hours of the morning producing these audios, and I'm not even sure, because some of them I realize I'm producing for people in the future who haven't heard them yet, or who may not even be listeners, but I do know that they're being produced for someone, and usually in the future. And it's, I know that I will be given rest at some point, because I don't think that, I don't think even, some people go 4 hours a day and they go 5 days a week. I think no one gives more time on the air than Alex Jones, but it's a different kind of time. There are breaks and there are commercials and there's guests. And it's not this kind of intense spiritual journey and grind that we seem to be on. And, we're grinding against ourselves, trying to get it right, trying to come up to that next level, trying not to be cynical, trying not to be hurt, trying not to be, devastated by the circumstances around us or the world in which we see that very soon there will be a great wailing and gnashing of teeth in the land. And I find it interesting that they're rolling out the UFOs. The UN is appointing a little ambassador to the ETs. Isn't that cute? Catholic priests are saying they're not from the spiritual realm. They're from the physical realm. And I would agree with this Catholic priest. Yes, they're from the physical realm. Yes, they're in the physical realm, but they're also in the spiritual realm, you idiot. How do priests get to be so dumb or dumbed down? Number one, the guy is just a propagandist. Same thing with the UN and the same thing with the one they want to appoint as an ambassador. It's just propaganda. Along with ET, what do we get? A police state globally. That's what you get. That the hapless dupes out there will see the lights in the sky, and everyone will marvel and celebrate and agree to be obedient to the higher masters. That's all that's going on. In other words, they're going to come, and they can take on any form, any machine, anything you like, because this reality is not exactly very solid either. They say, well, this is the physical realm. It's not the realm of the spirit. The spirit is way more solid than this one. This one is very pliable. You want a UFO? I can think it in my mind. There it is with all the bells and whistles. Go ahead and fly it. Enjoy. It's like that. So they're going to make a big deal out of it. And, I'm hearing the chatter already in the spirit. I'm getting the attempts to contact me, and my shields are up and blocked. I don't want to talk to ET. I don't want them to start contacting me. They're going to start contacting everyone out there that's, everyone with half an antenna is going to get contacted. And then they're going to go out and see lights in the sky and even take videos on YouTube, and it's all going to be a big hoopla. It's going to be disgusting like a hula hoop. It's going to be disgusting like a day at Disneyland. It's going to be disgusting like the manipulation of consciousness. It's going to be awful. But you see, E.T. comes in, and what does he give? Hope to a hopeless world, because you see, the oligarchs cannot pay. It's either E.T. or WW3. And so they're figuring, or maybe both. You know what I mean? Both in concert. But again, it's come right up. Why WW3 now? Because they've run out of money, folks. So there has to be WW3. We predicted this. We've been predicting this over the years. We predict WW3. It's the reason when the derivatives go south and all the things happen. Again, I think we've had a pretty accurate record over the years of predicting and then seeing and predicting and then seeing. I think the most major sort of, bullseye I've had has really been the derivatives, because I started talking about those way before people knew what they were, and we just went on and on and on about it. I'm not the only one. No, I'm not. This is a prediction. Predicted the economy. Predicted a lot of things. But a lot of this is just from native intelligence, just making predictions based on, whatever, based on being, having clairvoyance. There's a difference between that and thus saith the Lord, isn't there? When the Lord says to do something or say something, then you say it. Most of the prophetic statements made here, I'm just call it little p. A lot of them had to do with instruction for us, rhema, as opposed to prediction. But I made prediction about, about the derivatives, and then the collapse of the global economy, and then the World War III is just really basically what the oligarchs are not going to cede power to the people. And so the people will start rebelling and rioting all over the world, and they already are. And it's going to be, your benefits out there, if you get benefits from the governments of the world, they will cut the benefits, but then they'll tell you to look at ET and don't look at, and then this World War III thing looms. And it may be something like, either take ET or World War III, your pick. In other words, become a slave to ET, who are more advanced than us and can help us in our evolution, and they can really help us get down the road so we can take our place in the Intergalactic Federation and be like Star Wars and Star Trek. Doesn't that sound fun, boys and girls? Don't you look forward? Yeah, so the people that know what this is all about, they couldn't telegraph it more with a series like V. What was V there for? The remake of V. It was a lousy series back then. It didn't, I guess it was okay, but it's a one-trick pony, right? Once you've seen the show, you've seen the show. They come, they're benign. Nope, they're lizards. They want to eat you. Look out. So they put it in your face. Oh, gee, I guess we made a mistake. They're not our divine space brothers that want to help and aid in our evolution. The Catholic Church, I am not surprised, is involved in gigantic deception. In fact, they're talking about baptizing E.T. Now that is the most hilarious and comedic thing. I can't imagine the Catholic Church being the most stupid, retarded people on the entire planet, but it looks like, I'm talking about the clergy, I'm not talking about Catholics, I understand, you religion people, but the hierarchy of the Catholic Church has to be, maybe they just believe you're that gullible that you'll accept that they should baptize E.T. I almost fell off my chair laughing when I read that one. Did you see that one? The Catholic Church is going to baptize E.T.? This is hilarious. This is like, I mean, you've got to see the humor in that, right? You have got to see the humor in that. I mean, come on. It is hilarious. And then the question is, well, since there's such an advanced civilization, isn't it inappropriate that the Catholic Church should baptize ET? Maybe they should be baptizing us. And so there you go. Because of their advancement, the nullification of the Catholic Church, all religion, the whole Marxist plan will be done by ET. It's beautiful. And yes, as perhaps Brother Thomas and I are the only ones who really saw this, I guess so. I'll give him all the credit. I mean, he's the one that sort of brought it forward when people thought he was crazy. When and of course riots and fireballs and things like that have been, noted, but who listens? Again, when I was musing over the idea of pulling Bro T, pulling myself, just saying, hey, look, do people even listen to reality? How many people got cut? Well, I mean, case in point, we both talked about the Gulf being, a intentional thing, and then, that they could plug it any time. They plugged it and left, and it became. But what did the prophetic community, and I put that in quotes, and I'm being nice when I say that. What did the so-called prophetic community do? Uber Christian liar extraordinaire, Quayle, and all the people on his network are also equally liars. All predicted huge disaster. Well, I can't say every single one. There might be one or two strays, but from what I understand, you got to be vetted to be in that little circle of shame called Quayle. All of them telling people to leave the Gulf. The only kind of consolation that I get is that Quayle himself and other false prophets, false teachers, false lying, I don't even know what to call this guy, carnival barker, fringe carnival barker, telling people to leave the Gulf because their very lives are at stake, having people pick up and leave and lose everything they had to please this idiot on the airwaves who should have been pulled a long time ago, whose mouth should be duct taped forever. And yet, he goes on and predicting more stuff, and the rest of them under his little minions do the same thing. I thank God for one thing. Frankie has been noting that no, I'm a little bit of piss and vinegar today, and I love you all. I'm totally in agape. I feel good. As far as Quayle, no, I don't hate him. I'm not even angry at him. I'm just outraged that people would influence other people's lives to change, while then they don't change theirs, tell you to sell everything you have and uproot and go live under a rock somewhere with all your survival gear while he sits there and rakes in the money. I mean, it's just really not fair, is it? So it's just, to me, he's like a video game in terms, I don't care. I mean, it's not, gee, I really care. I think we ought to pray for this brother. It doesn't register like, brethren doesn't register, that word doesn't register. at all. It's not given to me. I'm not let's lead in prayer. He's deceived. It's almost like prayers for David Icke. Remember when that used to happen? Everyone liked David Icke, so they were all praying for him to become a Christian, to accept Jesus and all this stuff. And I'm like, what are you talking about? This is a guy who has made up his mind on his New Age theology, or whatever you want to call it, and that's it. I mean, he's made his decision, and I respect his decision. But you have, I just don't understand. I don't understand. There's no virtue in being wrong. There's no virtue in praying for the wrong thing. There's no virtue in taking someone who's inaccurate and praying that one day they become accurate when what they need is rebuke. Where's the virtue in that? Is it any wonder why on WWCR, and this is what I was just going to say a second ago regarding Frankie, was alerting me to the fact that the talk show hosts are thinning out. They're not able to... Well, you didn't know that. Well, let me explain. Due to the economy, you might not have noticed, we're in a depression, okay? They're using a mind control technique so we don't think we are, so they can get the rest of our money, but basically, we're there. As predicted. These are still going to be the good old days, don't worry. Get out and celebrate while you can. Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow you die. Okay, fine. Now, there are things slipping through the cracks of the economy. Like talk show hosts are more and more leaving the airwaves. Because it's expensive to broadcast on WWCR. A couple hours time every week, it's expensive. If I added up the bill for the broadcasting for the year, I think you'd be horrified. And if I showed you, how much assistance we receive from people that, believe they just, freely give, freely receive, we operate in the red. Now, I'm proud of that, operating in the red. Because, buy the truth and sell it not. The podcast is for free. But if I added up all the bills for the year, I'd show you, you'd be horrified. A guy in a normal job who's like working a job and then having the bills and then having something extra, could not afford to do it. Now, podcasting, yes, that's been a great boon. That's inexpensive. But when you broadcast on the airwaves and you have a T1 line and things like that, it's expensive. Even if you pare it down to where I have no assistant, no webmaster like I used to have, where I'd have a webmaster and have all this stuff and I'd be able to have fancy websites and all that. We gave all that up a long time ago, knowing this time was coming because we listened to our predictions here. Stick with us. I must be in the 90% range, 91, 92 in terms of prediction. I don't know, maybe better than that. I don't know. Maybe 95, 96. Don't know. There's a difference between prediction and prophecy, as I said, but I don't know. In terms of the prophetic, most of the time I've had a prophetic word, it has been to lay on you a rhema, to lay on you a teaching. And so I do that, I just obey. I can't think about it. If the prophets of Baal show up and we have a pissing contest with the prophets of Baal, and, I'm allowed to kill them all, would I have guilt over killing them all? Could I kill 3,000 golden calf worshippers? Would I really have what it takes to be like an Old Testament guy? I don't know. I'm a peaceful person. I seem to be more like on the Jesus path of peace, not so much on, retribution or, playing games or gossiping and lying and slandering as people seem to do from time to time regarding me. Most of that's all lies, but I'm not going to sit here and waste my time defending myself against little ants who don't matter, who have nothing to do with what's really going on, who don't really have a voice and who will never have a voice, and whom God has not chosen to speak. I mean, they can say whatever they want. It's like a smorgasbord out there. I've seen people say things like, oh, well, Zeph is this. Zeph is a Zionist. He believes in dual covenant theology, so there. And I'm like, no, I have never believed in dual covenant or group salvation or anything like that. I've never had any different tune regarding the Jews. Someone played a little tune of mine called Rock Code Red, which was a crazy thing I did. And we're going to do more. I'm getting back to the bongos. I mean, that's where it was really happening. But when I did that crazy spoof way back when, in 2004, there was a parody about the Jews and how people were wanting to throw the Jews down the well even then. And I'm defending them even then. So, no, I have never changed about that, about Israel and the Jews, ever. At one time I had tried to blend kind of a spiritual Israel, the Jews, trying to kind of have it both ways, but those two are incompatible. And I, sort of repented for that, because you can't blend them. You cannot listen to someone promoting replacement theology and spiritual Israel and then turn around and have a basic Bible understanding, which the people that preach that, they don't have a basic Bible understanding. I mean, we went through the Bible step by step, very simple. And instead of, looking at the facts, what do these people do? They attack the messenger. So, give up. There's nothing you can say. They're ants. Little people, little-minded people with little ideas, doing little stupid little things that don't matter in the long run to anyone. If it's not of God, it doesn't matter. If it's throwing the Jews down the well, it's not of God. Doesn't matter. It's just, tough love, baby. So there are people writing me wondering about what's happening. And, a friend here writes, as long as we're in good standing with the Lord, as long as we continue to humbly seek and know, and even greater to fulfill God's will, everything will be added to us. In other words, I like it. I like the letters. As long as we continue to seek God's will in all of this, the rest will be added to it. If the Lord tells you to, rebuke a theology or something, well, you do it, you don't, and then you move on and do the next thing. And then you do the next thing. Elijah did not make lots of friends who were other theologians of the day. Okay? And neither did John the Baptist. He was completely separate out in the wilderness. And I think anybody that is going to stand on truth is going to absolutely rub people the wrong way. And truth is not difficult. See, that's the whole point of when we, in the past, I don't know, a month ago, now that it's in the disappearing past, we went through the Bible to see what it actually says. Okay. It's not difficult to understand what it says at all. My question and my challenge to people out there is, okay, based on what it says, do you accept it or reject it? And the answer is, people with, bizarre theologies and false doctrine, they throw out basic Bible understanding. They go, well, this line, this verse doesn't mean that. That verse doesn't mean that. It's like, no, okay, fine. So you cherry pick your verses to suit your theology. I see. So you just have to turn that over to God, let God sort it out. What else can any reasonable person do? There's nothing really to debate. I think the Bible is pretty clear. There's no debate. You can debate politics, you can debate lots of things, but, do you believe the Bible? Then, well, that's another whole question. Is it good? For me, and it doesn't matter to me whether I have King Jim here or any other kind of Bible. I like them. Even this Aramaic New Covenant by Herb John, this is like totally bizarre and out there. It's out there as a translation. I love it. People have written up about this guy that the guy's nuts. Okay, fine, he's nuts. But I do like how he's tried to strain the English language to actually suit the Aramaic. And he's also done literal translations as well. No, he's not a scholar, and he's never going to be accepted by scholars, and he's never going to have his Bible in the Hall of Fame regarding Bibles. But as to what do I teach here? I don't really teach anything. I just go by what the Lord has for me that day. And right now, the warning is about the ET thing. I mean, it's like, obviously, and we'll have a discussion about that this weekend on the live show. We'll be dealing with ET, and we'll be dealing with the, sort of abduction phenomenon and all that. Insofar as so much has been made of this, and I suppose it's going to be time for people to deal. And yeah, there's going to be people having lots of visions and dreams of ET, and that's really the whole thing now is it's the dream time for ET. And then the conjuring, the massive magical conjuring that comes in, which is a mass magical feat done by sorcerers conjuring, opening the wormholes, opening the portals so that ET can come forth and save us. And a lot of people are going to be caught up in that. As far as Christian, it's really difficult for me to. I've been so disappointed in myself for, I guess, holding out hope that there were others. And then, overlooking some obvious things that would show me they're not. For example, I talked to you before about people pretending, in behind the scenes, they treat Jesus as Santa Claus. And their flocks or whatever, or people that listen to them or whatever, as like little children, that are going to get on Santa's knee, and there's no talk of Jesus. I mean, it's all just very brash, carnal. Someone asked me, well, how do you feel now when they take their masks off, when you see them? I prayed that the truth would be revealed, that they, there'd be a time where people could see the masks are off and they wouldn't be deceived. But I see people deceived. And if they knew what I knew, it would be like, but I can't tell them it's something they're going to have to come to on their own. But if they knew what I knew, they'd have a wake-up call on a lot of stuff. But they're going to just have to go through their process and discover it on their own. I've been deceived over and over by wolves in sheep's clothing. And a friend was speculating. They said, why do they get to know you? Because if they survive you, then they get some kind of entry into the paranormal. They get a pop. I survived Zeph. It becomes a credential. I survived Zeph. And I'm like, well, yeah, every single thing that's blown up has been accurate. But then they go on. So I guess it's a credential. Like, in other words, they didn't die. And I'm like, wow, that's a really serious game. You think people are really playing a game like that? I mean, because I don't know. I don't, that's speculation, but that's what someone said, that surviving Zeph becomes some sort of credential with the occult. So you mean these fake Christians are all in the occult? It's like, yeah, of course. So they're using Christianity because of the fact that that's where the power is. That's where the lambs are that you can pick off. You need to feed. You're going to become a Christian. You're going to become like a leader, right? And then you can feed on them. Yeah, it's a classic cult leader thing. Well, in a lot of ways on the airwaves, that's what it's become. And I just mentioned probably the worst case of them all, telling people to leave their homes And, and people speculating, saying, this is a prophetic show. Now tune in. And they're speculating on the Gulf and saying that's the bottomless pit and all this. It's like, where are you? How deceived can you get? And yet they're still going on about it like they're right because they can't afford to be wrong. And I look at that and I just go, oh my God, this is like the blind leading the blind at best. I mean, and you tune in and basically they're speculating on this. And what this does to me is when I hear talk like that, that's really inaccurate. And the view then goes to, yep, and then the U.S., 9/11 truth and the whole Illuminati thing and the Zionists and all this other stuff. They have this whole world view and say it's prophetic and say they are inspired by the Bible. I'm like, the synagogue of Satan. And I look at the Bible and go, my Bible doesn't say that. I guess you can apply anything you want in here. When I read Old Testament scripture like Hosea, I'm looking at a parallel between, the Israelites, the wicked, and how God dealt with them, and how we are today. If God did this to them then, what will he do to us today? It's more like that. It doesn't mean directly this is a direct prophecy. It just means, no, as prophesied in the past that came to pass in Hosea here, they have deeply corrupted themselves. Therefore, he will remember their iniquity. He will visit their sins. He will not forgive them. Okay, so I look at that and apply it to today and say, okay, this is a God that did this there. What's he doing here? That's fair. See, that's not a stretch like that. This prophecy was not for those times. This prophecy was for today. Now, if I said that about Hosea 9, then, of course, I would think me being in error. Yes? It wasn't meant for the Israelites then. It was meant for us today. And then I would be ignoring the context and the historical and everything else about the time then. Same thing with any of them. I can say that about Psalms and Proverbs. I can say definitely you can apply that to any time. And especially Proverbs has so much wisdom. Pretty much everything there is applicable to today. There are businessmen that just follow Proverbs in order to maximize their wealth because they're the keys to wealth. There is the ultimate prosperity doctrine. It's called Proverbs. If you want to be successful in the world and wealthy, if that's your calling, it says the same principles that people know. What are those principles? Honesty, integrity, diligence, hard work. Honesty with dealing with people so they can do business with you on a handshake. It's those kinds of things tend to win in the end. Not evil conniving. Not what they do in Hollywood or Wall Street. That's not what really works in the end. And so people return to those principles and they go, yep, it worked for my business. Whatever you think of the businessmen want to profit. I mean, in the end, in a good economy, maybe they won't do business with you if you're separate. But when times are tough, they don't care whether you're separate, connected, they don't care anything. If there's a profit to be made, if there's business to be done, they want to do it. But even that cannot guarantee prosperity. No, every once in a while I have to look at the whole Christendom thing, and I understand why Christianity was thrown under the bus. And with E.T. coming, it will be the eradication of it completely. It will become irrelevant. It already is becoming irrelevant. Jesus is not making headway. The numbers, let's just play the numbers game, okay? The numbers are dwindling fast. Where there were 1 billion, maybe there's going to be, 500 million down to, a few 100,000 at the end, probably. But then again, there'll be mass death as well. World War III, globally, would be mass death. The eugenicists just can't wait to get that going. The Wall Street guys can't wait to get that going. The globalists who don't want to cede power can't wait to divert it into a patriotic WW3. Let's go get the infidel or the Islamo-fascist or the this and that, whatever. We'll go kill them. We'll get the enemy. Oceania, get them. And really, it's just an excuse to depopulate. All these evil plans will be thwarted, of course, by God. But God will allow these evil plans to come to fruition in this evil day. But nowhere that I look is there... I mean, I recently, someone contacted me, and they were telling me this and that, and they were trying to tell me that I need to be quiet, that you need to stop podcasting. Well, they belong to another camp, let's say, who had a vested interest in stealing all our listeners. Oh, that happened recently. Now, read between the lines. Incredible. Like a high school, like a grade school playground. I've had listeners contacting me and saying, "What up? Why are people telling me you're evil again?" I go, same thing, different day. So they contact me to tell me God told them to tell me that there's no more need for podcasting. Go ahead and take a break. Go ahead and take a break. And then I find out they were sent by people who are trying to get me to shut up. And me thinks, why? What are they so afraid of? Why do they care what I do? Answer, because they're not only afraid of the message, but they're afraid of, I guess, freedom, the real reality coming through, the real thing. I don't know. That God would move? God has moved. God has moved. And the thing that I can't understand is that people in general out there have been rebuked, tagged, if you will, marked. People get marked, tagged, and that goes with them. When the mask comes off, they think, well, I've taken the mask off so many times before, nothing ever happened until now. And that goes with them. So you get people who are marked, and then when you're marked, it's like nobody wants to do business with you. The power that you had, it's gone. There's no enthusiasm. It's just hell. But anyway, they can go on. The Lord says, yeah, you can be tagged and you can go on and keep going about your business, but there's just something in the background wrong. There's just a wrong feeling. There isn't a feeling like you're right up with God. There's just this feeling like, that things are not right with the world or with God or the cosmos or anything. And that, when you get that feeling, from time to time we all get that feeling. That's the call to repentance. That's when the Lord calls us to repent, meaning to change direction, meaning to take stock of our lives. That was what the whole Yom Kippur thing was. So you have this kind of thing going on, and I'm not going to interfere with it. I just watch it. I'm just watching it and commenting on it. With my statement of my overall disappointment in myself for I guess, you see, when I fight, let's just put our cards on the table. I fight cynicism. Another fake. It's just like, I don't need that. I don't want to see everyone is fake. I want people to be real. I want there to be a sense of, but the rule is you've got to first corrupt yourself, and then you can be part of the group, and then we can function like a group and then fool the audience. I really do want the best for people, but I find that, okay, so you're dealing with people that are that are one way in front of some people and then another way. So they're not going to, I guess religion, I'm stumbling here. Religion is just a con game. You know, I get your confidence. You know, I steer you into my theology and my political philosophy. I steer you into my mentality. I control you. You get a certain mindset about the world based on something I've told you or some evidence I've presented. I make my case, and if I'm very talented, I can get you to believe anything I want you to believe, and I can make it all line up with, you know, the Bible or whatever text you want, the Quran, the Bible, the Upanishads, it doesn't matter. So, most of the people in it are there to control you. And many are federal agents. Agents, also agents of darkness. Meaning, you know, there's a lot of PsyOp games and a lot of, you know, government-sponsored spies and so forth that infiltrate. You know that, right? They also watch every church. You know, they keep tabs on people to see who the real enemies would be in the end. You know, who's going to fight? Well, now it's very important for them to do that because they want to find out who's going to fight back on the communist takeover. And that's all it is. ET is just another wing of the communist takeover. That's all it is. That's all it is. Yeah, that religion, that philosophy. People that get obsessed with ET, they're New Agers. When they really want to do the UFO thing, and they really take the kind of, you know, approach that maybe they are real and all this and that, they're just basically going with the status quo, the basic mind control thing that's happening. So they look for people that won't go along with that mind control, who are not going to buy into it. And so that's why they say they have, you might have seen an article recently on the Drudge Report and elsewhere that said that Obama is authorizing wiretaps on the internet. Well, no, what's happening is there's no such thing as a wiretap on the internet. The internet's totally open. Anyone who wants to see anything can. That's not what it is. They are combing the internet, you know, trying to see who will be resisting and who won't when the hammer comes down. Same thing with the military. They're being trained to, you know, you've heard all this, you know, take your guns, you know, put a lockdown, you know, create a police state, all that stuff. Sure, they're trying to, you know, get a gauge of what they're looking at to see when they can move and when they can't move. Because it's very important to them to wrap it up with, because they're Satanists, because the people at the top are beholden to these ETs, or what they represent, and they want to deliver the globe, lock, stock, and barrel to ET, and consider God to be irrelevant. And there's just a really harsh period coming up where people, you know, if you don't believe in what they want you to believe in, they just eliminate you. So I told you it was a life and death situation. I mean, this is nothing to play with. And so most of the Christians are agents of that. So they're going to be obsessed with conspiracy theory. They're going to be obsessed with the UFO thing and the ET and the abductions and satanic ritual abuse. And, you know, I'm intimately aware of all those things, but I'm not going to dwell just on that. I know a lot of people are interested, but, you know, you have to just dwell on what the Lord has you to dwell on. I mean, you know, to the best of your ability. It may not be that you're the best person at obeying the Lord or the most obedient, but you try to be. And that might mean you do a show about food rather than E.T. But here we are talking about E.T. because E.T. is trying to contact me, so I'm assuming, which is not the best thing to do in the world, as you know, but I'm assuming this is a sort of a mass thing that's going on with all the prescient people who have these abilities. You know what I mean? Paranormal, psi abilities. Those are all being contacted now. So the airwaves, those psi airwaves are being flooded with ET. That's why I have to mention it. And where does the fake thing come in? And don't think I'm singling anyone out. I'm certainly not. I mean, I'm not talking about one group or another. I mean, there's been some things said about me that were not true by a certain group on the net, but I mean, I don't dwell on it. I mean, all you have to do is just hear my record. Go back to the Zeph report. How many times I was called a Zionist back then? What I learned is, there are theologies that can't be mixed together. I learned that. I learned there are different tribes, people that just don't fit into one and not going to fit into another. Like Elijah before me, I've said, Lord, am I the only one? Isn't there anyone else out there? And I've had that thought. And I fight that thought because I just can't believe that it's just a complete lock. I almost feel like we're lab rats in an experiment, folks. I feel like we're just, in a laboratory environment being studied. It's not even about the people that want to do away with the ones who won't go along with that. That's all part of the experiment. And that it really is about you and it really is about me. I mean, like you think, it's not about me, it's about the Lord. No, but I mean, in this particular thought pattern here, it is all about me. And from your perspective, it's all about you. And from someone else's perspective, it's all about them. And this is some kind of a trap, because we know that when we have the consciousness that it's all about the Lord, we are kind of set free. When it's all about us, we become what? Paranoid. We become fearful. We become unbelieving. The faith is gone. So those are the things we want to fight against. Those are the very things that ET, earth changes, all these topics. I got to tell you this. There are people on the internet who have these email things, sending around all these scary emails, okay, on a daily basis. And their spirit, I wonder, their spirit is just totally fear-based. And they're focused on ET, and they're focused on, the Gulf. They were telling people to leave also. They were hearkening the call, sending out their massive emails. Now that the Gulf is kind of over in the rearview mirror, and then we're on to the next phase, they act like they never did that. And they just continue unashamedly posting their predictions. After predicting the Gulf was this, that, or the other thing, trying to gin up something with the Gulf, trying to cover their asses for having promoted the Gulf as a big hole in the earth that was going to kill all these people. And then now that they predicted all that, and they were false prophets, because a lot of them mixing it all up with the Lord and everything else, are now backpedaling and saying, no, it really was something significant spiritually. So they're all jumping on that to cover their asses, that it's a hole in the earth. It's a hole to the bottomless pit. It's out of your mind. You're out of your mind. You can't fudge that. You blew it. You were wrong. Admit it. But they keep on. And it's not one guy or another. I mean, there's some that are famously promoting their spiritual theories about the hole in the earth. But you're dealing with like maybe hundreds of thousands of people believing this. I remember in chat rooms a long time ago, it would get to the point where people would start talking about, maybe we already went supernova with the sun because the sun was acting up. Maybe it's already gone supernova and we're in another dimension. Yeah, I understand dimensional slipping. Like you could be on a plane that in one dimension crashes, but you shift dimension so that plane lands. Sure, but doesn't that make reality kind of irrelevant? So we can't really think in those terms, or if you want to, then everything is fudged and everything is a fantasy and everything is a dream state. I guess there are people that live in that, to shield themselves from pain. But ultimately, we have to just deal with what we've got. And, I just find it interesting the Vatican getting involved in the ET thing. I mean, doesn't that show what the Vatican is all about? Here's one. Mysterious force holds back NASA probe in deep space. A space probe launched 30 years ago is kind of under the influence of a force that has baffled scientists and could rewrite the laws of physics. Okay. And that's in the Telegraph UK, okay? And then it's a very kind of titillating article, And that there's a new force of nature out there that they hadn't considered. And then there's the speculation that ET is really controlling it all. Not from this publication, but other people are saying that. So they are speculating about that. What else? The foreclosure crisis is going to kill everyone. Okay, well let's see what else. Manufacturing decline threatens national security. Okay, fine. Bring in World War III. What else? The day music. I'm just going through the emails and the predictions of what is going to happen. And I should have kept all those Gulf predictions. Boy, that just proved everything about the whole Christian false thing online. U.S. military suicide prevention efforts fail. And, let's go to some more great news. The United Nations is to appoint the first contact with ET. Go to some other news, okay? This is just the news flow, all right? This is just going down the news flow. The future of mankind in the destroyer star. Obama prepares for a police state in America. Go down. The Fed's detaining people for not answering questions. Go down. Okay. Here's one. The time has arrived. Is rebellion at hand? Well, sure. They want to make everyone rebel and, arrest them. I don't think I proved my point. I'm just saying that, every day there's a flow from, I do get a number of people that put out their predictions. Well, I could go on with a couple more. Let's see. Let me go on with a couple more. Maybe this will help prove the point. Here's one. It says, don't vote, because democracy is a religion. Voting is communion. So remember, don't vote in November. Okay, so who are these people putting out the news articles? And finally, they're being honest. They're putting out a political article. Do not vote in November. Do not participate in this evil slave state called America. Develop alternative ways of doing whatever. Voting constitutes, and here's what they just said, and this is a news article that's coming across my transom. Voting is tantamount to unholy communion with the devil. I kid you. I know. I'm just reading the news flow. This is the conspiracy underground. This is from Christian. This is the Christian news flow. So there's this whole group who hates the United States and everything, who hates everything. And they listen to false prophets who are telling them false theology. They have no hope in anything. They don't believe Jesus is going to return in the physical because their little mind can't wrap around that. So they think Jesus is going to return in our hearts. They hate Israel. They hate the Jews. They say they don't, but they do. And Israel is the synagogue of Satan, and America is basically mystery Babylon and evil. And Britain is right up there with it, and Europe is right up there with it. The whole world sucks, and they're just waiting to be picked up by the Lord. They're doing a good work. Don't vote in November because you're committing Holy Communion with the devil. That's the same equivalent of don't quote from Lord of the Rings because that's of the devil. Well, let me just explain what this consciousness is. No hope, no life, everything sucks, everything's bad, everything's satanic. And here's the funny thing about it. The purveyors of it themselves are satanic. They're not real Christians. They're operatives. And that's why I'm disappointed I've done my last bit on that. I mean, I really don't believe there's no hope. And I don't believe these PsyOp operatives. And that's what they are. They put out this stuff, and you can always tell who they are because they're going to cause you to doubt the Bible, but listen to their teachings, and then they're going to twist it all to fit their political philosophy and moral philosophy, and then influence you about that. And that's just basically another wing of this new world order that's coming in. Oh, they may think they're doing a yeoman's work, alerting you so you wake up, so you have the facts, so you won't be duped, so you won't be slaves to it. But that's not the end result. The end result is they are influencing you. You are selling your stuff. You are living under rocks. You have piled up all these guns and bullets and all these things. They are tracking you. And they're setting you up for the slaughter, man. You can't go through life as a sourpuss and think that there is no hope. Now, where in the world does it say there's no hope? If you have that idea, or you go, I have hope in Jesus, we get together and we have hope in our prayer meetings while we hate our country. So we're not going to vote in this evil land. And, because even if we go the other way and there are Christians that, or conservatives or whatever, it's the same game. It's all evil, whether it's conservative or liberal and everything in between. It's of Satan. If it's Israel in any way, shape, or it's of Satan. We are the real Israel. We are the ones. And throw the Jew down the well. And I'm sorry, but if the shoe fits, put it on. That's what they're about. And we're the ones. We're the Israel of God. And God's going to pick us up. God's going to eventually bless us in the end. Or we will proudly go on to our deaths. Let me explain something. These people will not go on to their death. They're doing a yeoman's work for the devil. They're not going on to their deaths. It's the people that resist in their hearts the initiation. It's the people who have no hope. Those are going to be the ones that are going to be coddled. But if you've been infected with this sickness, you got two choices. If you continue, first of all, it's a faithless profession. There is no faith among these people. Ask any one of them who believes in the Bible's already fulfilled, spiritual Israel, there's, single covenant theology. Yeah, it's really dual because the old covenant's broken and the new one's with the Gentile. Okay, fine. Ask any of them if Jesus is coming back in the flesh. Just ask them. If Jesus is coming back in the flesh, if Israel is the synagogue of Satan, so that's irrelevant. Same with all nation states. If that's the case, where will Jesus come back? Or ask them, will Jesus come back physically? And let's get that on the table. I think the answer will, maybe most of you it won't shock, but some of you it will. Some of you, that will be a wake-up call. Will Jesus return? And what do you believe? Do you believe Jesus will return in the flesh? Do you believe Jesus could have been? Do you believe there will be a physical mark of the beast? Just that. Is Jesus coming back in the flesh? And the answer will be hopelessly no. He's coming back in our hearts, and we're going through a transformation where the Israel of God will be blessed, and it'll be a new heaven and a new earth, and God will be so happy with his 100,000 people or whatever. He'll be so stoked that billions are dead, and with his 100,000 people who are anointed and who have the real insight as to what's really going on, these ones will be lifted up on high. These will be the priests of the future. Those who have not bowed their knee to Baal. And another question is, will the 12 tribes of the 144,000 mentioned in the book of Revelation, will those be Jewish virgins? I mean literal. And the answer will be no, of course not. It's anthropocentric. It's us, don't you know? And on and on and on and on and on. Yada, 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 yada. But if you think that, you're a Zionist. Well, okay. Fine. You know, the label game. Fine. Fight for your theology. But let me tell you something. In the end, people are not going to be, people are going to need hope. They're going to look for truth, because in truth there's hope. And they're going to look for the real way. They're not going to be satisfied with the fearmongers online who have all promoted this idea to not participate, to actually destroy the United States. That's really what they want you to do. They want you to do. So the people that believe that, you know, it's all the Illuminati, it's a Zionist plot, the U.S., what's going to happen there is they will help destroy the United States along with the communists. They will be one of the frontline spears of destruction, the breakaway people, and they will be rewarded in the end. They will not be punished. No. Because they're not resisting. You see? It's the resistors who are punished. No, they will promote, like, hey, it's okay, man. Don't do anything about the USA. Don't participate in voting. It's a slave state. It's all the Illuminati. It's a Zionist state. Get away from it. Just wait for God to pick you up. I mean, there's no rapture or anything, but, you know, maybe you'll be killed and then raptured. You might be picked up as one of the 144,000. Get out of here. Or maybe, you know, hope in what? Hope in silly, stupid things. Be in it, not of it. That means whatever you do, don't participate in voting, because that will absolutely be a holy communion with the devil. Now, honestly, that came across my computer, along with, you know, more trash talk about Israel being the synagogue of Satan. Where's all that Tex Mars stuff? I mentioned him because he's really the main purveyor of that sort of philosophy. And I just, you know, so I guess, Tex, we're going to all listen to you. You know, we're going to listen to you. And, you know, because the rest of it's a Zionist plot. So we're going to have to tune in every week to you and your whole theology. And this whole hope in false doctrine, I don't get it. But fortunately, there's not that many people that fall for it. And don't they know that many, I'm not saying all, but many of the people purveying it are operatives. Don't you understand that? They don't believe in Jesus. They're going to minimize Jesus. He's not coming back in the flesh. He comes back in, it's more like a Christ force. You know, don't you get what's happening to you? What does it take? What do I have to do to get you to believe the truth? 2004, the Rock Code Red, which is one of the craziest audios on the internet, according to some people that found it. It was under the craziest audios section. It does go into the whole Jew-Gentile thing. It goes into it's really a satire on the church and all that. And in other words, but what it does show is that, 2004 had the same philosophy as 2002, and the same thing throughout, same thing today in 2010, and it just is what it is. The other thing we like I said, I've got a good friend in, Brother Thomas, being that, he's a person that's accurate, which is amazing. And he might have all of, 15, 20 followers. I see. I understand. The world doesn't want Jesus. Doesn't want the Holy Spirit. Doesn't want accurate anything. Whether it's about the Gulf, whether it's about ET, whether it's about the communist takeover. They want God to be saying that it's all the synagogue of Satan and this whole other philosophy, whether it's the third day philosophy or all this other garbage, and they want you to believe. Well, I should research that before I say something, but it's just another man-made, they want you to believe. What they want is for you to be hapless dupes. To help, so you won't resist when this thing comes in. And then they're going to get all caught up in the paranormal. And they're going to say, well, I'm not sure about ET. The Bible may have some errors in it. Maybe we need to rethink this whole thing because maybe there's these good ETs, you see. And then, oh yeah. And then and soften them up and get them in. It's all about the initiation of the soul. It's all about the second death. It's all about the sin unto death. Since the purveyors have all committed it, they're all part of the world system. They want you to do the same thing. But at the same time, they don't really care because if they get hold of a lamb, they get to feed, because once you go through, you have to feed. You have to feed yourself. The real people, I contend, will remain obscure. Alone, walking in the wilderness alone and, sometimes coming together with some people, but it's always, you guys out there, you're contending in your own walks. I don't know how much longer we will be able to do this. It's really just my journey, and I'm sharing it with you in a podcast and then a live broadcast once a week. But really, at this point, I'm up kind of over my head. I'm kind of over my head, folks. They have, the traitors are at the gate. They posed as your friends. You and I, did we listen? I really apologize for my part in the propaganda of having listened to guys like Rents and other people. I mean, they may not be doing it on purpose, but, the end result's the same. When it comes in with hate the United States and bring the United States down and it's illegitimate, it's the synagogue of Satan, who has the vested interest in... I'm just going to leave you one last time, then I'm going to move on to another topic. Who has the biggest vested interest in the synagogue of Satan theory? Who has the big vested interest that the United States is part of the synagogue of Satan? So don't vote. Who has a vested interest in that? Separate from it because it's come out of her, my people. And they're talking about the United States. Like if you vote, you're part of the... Who has a vested interest in destruction of the United States and Israel? Would you please explain that? And if the United States and Israel is destroyed, and would that help everybody with Saudi Arabia and how awful it is, all those Islamophobes would be gone? Who has a vested interest in pushing the destruction of the United States through conspiracy theory and mixing it with Christianity? Who benefit, cui bono, who benefits by that kind of thing? The only reason they do any spirit talks at all is to move you into a political and moral philosophy that is Antichrist. And, so Zir, you're saying that the United States is of Christ? No, I'm not saying, you can twist my words any way you want. You can twist them any way. I can't, Satan, that I can't cover it all on one podcast. And that anything I say can be taken out of context, sliced up, and presented by little feeble-minded idiots who want to, stir it up. Fine. Can't win doing an audio. And there's no winning in any debate, especially not with Satan. But what is the force that wants to destroy freedom? I know, they already say there is no freedom. Why are the conspiracy theorists who used to be Christians, why are they now lining up with Marxists in their batwing, just like what I read on that news flow? Why are they lining up with the Marxists? And that's where this talk is going. Why are they lining up with Marxists? Or rather, why are they lining up with Satan, Marxists? Why are they contacting me and telling me that God told them that we don't have to do podcasts anymore because everything's been said and you get to take a break now, and then running back to, say, an enemy and hanging out? And then I see that and I'm like, oh, wow. What is it being said here they don't want to be said, in other words? I believe they don't want to be exposed. I really do. And I believe they will fight to the death to defend their satanic, Marxist, antichrist, all in the name of Jesus way, for a God who is distant and will not return. No, it's them who will be the honchos with their political and moral philosophy, which eventually will meld with E.T., who, by the way, since the Bible is flawed, E.T. can be good because it's different E.T.s. It's a whole universe teeming with life, etc., etc. It's very easy to go from the leap of hatred of your country to the whole E.T. thing and fall in love and, get your visions and powers. And we'll be covering this weekend. Special E.T. show with Brother Thomas. My embattled friend who has had nothing but a hard time because of, I believe, what he says. Anyway, we're going to cover that. We're going to have an E.T. show. It's time. We're going to deal with the Ascended Masters and E.T. and abduction and the fact that they're now trying to break into my dreams. I mean, yes, if I could give you personal testimony that would make your hair stand on end, but I've avoided that because I don't want that to be my calling card. Like, okay, here it is, the abduction victim, the guy that talks to dolphins and E.T. or whatever. You know what I mean? You know how people are. They want to pigeonhole you. Let them think I'm just crazy. Let them just try to, I don't care. Just like, Bro T and others that I know out there, it's a very small group and we just don't recruit people. And we're not looking to steal listeners from other ministries. Oh, we don't do things like that. We don't live in back channels contacting people and saying, whatever you do, here's what I get. Here's what I get over the trend. I've been contacted and told to defriend you and not listen to you by some hysterical woman who says you're of the devil. What do I do with that? I say, I don't respond because I'm like, you listen to whatever the flip you want to listen to, okay? I don't care what you listen to. Listen to whatever you want, but I'm not jumping into some kind of a, food fight here with ants that, that are already, if anything, if you see that there's some kind of drama going on, why don't you pray for peace rather than trying to stir it up? I only do a podcast on what's on my mind. Today, this is, the only thing that's on my mind right now about all this is, I know certain people will take offense, but how many people are out there purveying the same thing as the replacement theology, the same thing with E.T., the same thing with the obsession with the paranormal, the obsession with conspiracy. And where does it all lead? It's just all leading into the hands of the Marxists. And that's the main issue today. Not small-minded, petty, gossipy, inane, irrelevant little people that go around doing little insignificant, dumbass things. They betray themselves. No one needs to even argue with that, people reveal themselves. It's up to you to discern what's right, what's wrong, it's not that difficult these days to see truth and deception, because most of the deception is pretty obvious. And I have to tell you this regarding the Tea Party, and I know that's like politically incorrect for the groups I'm talking about. Let them, laugh at me saying this. Those were probably the most decent people I've seen up close and personal. More like just honorable, honest people just trying to do something good. Not being victims, but speaking up over some basic issues. There are Catholics, atheists, various religions, whatever, involved. Their purpose is not evil. They're not deceived into participating in Satan's Babylon by the evil, by Glenn Beck may have taken a turn or two spiritually down a path I would question, but the evil Glenn Beck who is controlling them all, along with Sarah Palin and Fox News. And these are the really evil people. This is it. And that Tea Party and Beck and Palin and O'Reilly and this whole thing, this cabal of evil. You get involved in that. You get involved with voting. You get involved with any kind of activism at all. And by George, you are taken by the devil. The Zionists own you now. Did this talk rise to the level of importance and above the fray? It did. There is no debate on it. It is anybody who would voice up disagreement, in my opinion, really, and this is just my opinion, is a Marxist shill. Straight up. The purveyors of it, what is the purpose of taking away all hope? The whole Christian thing, I don't want any part of anymore. I don't want any part of this. This doing all this in Jesus' name is tawdry and dirty. Tawdry and dirty, folks. This whole thing isn't even about arguing about doctrine. It's not really about spiritual Israel or, throw the Jew down the wall. It's got nothing to do with replacement theology. This thing that's going on now has got nothing to do with that. That's a ruse. The real issue, the real bottom line is we have spirits in collision here. That's what's really going on. That's the real hidden agenda. And the one is making the play for all the marbles right now to control the earth. And they will be successful for a time. And that's going to be a time you're going to need to have some hope. To have some courage and some hope. And to face it still with a pure heart. And don't become cynical like I've become kind of jaded and cynical over the years. And I'm working to lose that by reading Francois Fenelon and other things. I don't want to become cynical, folks. I don't want to become jaded. Just because everything is fake out there. And everyone is owned and operated by Satan. And the whole thing is just one big lab rat experiment. I don't want to get to that point, but I tell you, some days I really have to work to resist that kind of thinking. Because I'm disappointed. I'm very disappointed in people I thought were friends. Who I thought were, even in a dispute, would be more like Christians. And it turns out, no, that's not the case. No, that's not the case. I do see the real spirit. I see them. God, it's ugly. I see them. I don't want to see them. And they won't ever repent. Ever. Never. Never. For any reason. Will you ever see these people repent ever. Using Jesus' name to bring in the whole Marxist thing. There's a Marxist Jesus, after all. They will never repent. They're right, and they will always feel that they are right, no matter how much evidence they are shown, because they don't care about you or the truth or anything else. All they want to do is destroy. Ultimately, that's where that all leads. They want to destroy the United States. You're any nation state there, just destroy it. It's all of the devil, synagogue of Satan, the Zionists run it, blah, blah, blah. Kill it. And if they can do that by causing you to be a separatist, meaning that you don't participate in anything, you're just over here being controlled by these people that want you to be to sit there and do nothing, and you are doing nothing, doing your good Christian duty. You're not going to be deceived. Boy, you're not going to be fooled. And how's that working out for you, that hope in your heart? How's that joy working out for you? What joy? What hope? Exactly. What joy? What hope? Well, my hope is Jesus. It's always Jesus. It's going to work out with Jesus. The world and all the nations are evil, but Jesus will rescue me. Jesus is my salvation. Jesus is really it. And will Jesus return? No, in our hearts, and we'll be transformed. The good people and the bad people will just perish. Oh, really? And when's that going to happen? More lies. Because let me explain. No Marxist can believe in the return of Christ. Because they're intellectuals, and intellectuals cannot believe in something they can't feel and touch, and something that doesn't make sense in their feeble little pea brains. They absolutely have to have it make sense in their feeble little pea brains. And so they get out of having to have irrational faith in the return of the Creator in the form of Jesus, which I fully believe will happen. And so now it becomes, well, my word against yours. I'll bet you. It becomes like that. You can't believe in the return of Christ unless you have super huge irrational faith. The return of Jesus as glorified, physical, whatever, it's in a way that you could say, sure, spiritual, supernatural, whatever, but to rule with a rod of iron. It will be our hearts that are ruled. It's an ethereal return. It's not a literal return. That's number one, to believe it like that. Number two, there isn't really a timeline. This is all just about making a decision for the Lord or not. And that's really all that's going on here. You know, all the things that were prophesied to happen, they happen, they're happening, they will happen, they might happen a little bit. But that's not the issue. The issue is what you're going to decide. Whether you're going to serve the Jesus of the Marxists or not. And if you are, then maybe some of you can be one of the 144,000. And maybe others of you will be part of the multitude or whatever. Whatever cockamamie scheme it is. It's all based on one thing. Political philosophy, Marxist philosophy in the end. Not being a resistor. That's the bottom line, not being a resistor. So therefore, they get to keep making their incomes. Believe me, they're not going to be taken anywhere. They're not going to be lost. They're not going to be hauled off to a camp and killed. None of that's going to happen to the people pushing that philosophy. They're, after all, good comrades. Good comrades. Very good. Very proud of themselves, I'm sure they each and every one of them are, as being a traitor to God. Very nice. Great job. And so where does that leave us? Twiddling our thumbs. Oh, taking care of each other. Oh, yes, I almost forgot. We can share amongst each other and form a church like in the book of Acts. Oh, gee, I almost forgot. That's where the hope is. And then Jesus will return in our hearts and everything's going to be okay. We'll be one big cluster F family. What a friend we have in Jesus, huh? Wow! Can't wait. But that's not where my hope is. A church like in the book of Acts won't do it for me. A day like Pentecost, been there, done that. That's not high enough. No, nothing less than the return of Christ in physical form to rule with a rod of iron for that 1,000-year period. Yeah, that's getting there. Irrational faith I have in irrational statements made by an irrational guy named John. Irrational people, hysterical people clinging to their guns and religion, clinging to these cockamamie theories. The intellectual Marxist Christian will tell you all about what to believe. But the main thing you've got to do, number one, and it's like, yeah, but I say Marxist, I also should include Nazi. Yes, because really the cleansing of the races also has to happen, you know. I mean, I don't want to bring that in right now completely, but I mean, that's waiting in the wings. So and don't forget fascist, Marxist, Nazi, humanism, spiritualism, all that is just, it's the real force of the Christ consciousness. And coming up to that union between heaven and earth, which is really about ETs being angels, and this is all God's will. And, you know, we've been deceived with our phony Bibles and don't have hope. So let me just spin it the other way. If you want to have hope, then have hope in Christ. And if you are led to do something about your corrupt country, then do it. Don't just think because it's all corrupt that it doesn't matter what you say or what you do. Don't let them convince you to sit on the sidelines. If there's work to be done to clean something up, you get out there and clean it up. I get out there and clean it up. We'll do the best we can. Maybe it will fail. But you see, I can't give up like that. Just say there's no hope. Just take that sort of Marxist, intellectual, stupid theology and apply it to becoming a hapless dupe, a useful idiot. I cannot recommend that to you. I cannot recommend that to you. I will be voting, and I will be at another Tea Party event, I'm sure. Because you know what? I like people that are in the Tea Party that leave a message. They don't even know me, and they say, God bless me. You know, I mean, it's, you know, God bless you on the, you know, they don't even know me. I know they're all Zionist conspirators, you know, under Palin's magic spell. I just have, you know, realized I have to totally separate. I can't be around the whole negative. You know, I've looked at all the conspiracies, and I never, you know, the only reason I went away from people like Rents and you know, and Tex Mars and all, the only reason is because they were throwing the Jews down the well. I mean, you know, the only reason I got away from a lot of people is because they're racist, straight up racist, really racist. And they're just like little KGB agents, you know, little SS Nazi people working on their dossiers and keeping track and tabs of all their people that they're influencing, and who knows who they're reporting to. But, you know, I see all this and I hate it. Like I say, I got to fight being cynical. You know, like it's all just really a lot worse than I think. You know, and it's already decided, because I know God, I've seen him do miraculous things, and I know he's going to lead his people through who are pure-hearted. So I'm going to remain pure-hearted. I'm not going to let that negativity get me. And I don't want to dwell on it that much, except to say, yeah, I guess today I got to warn you about ET, because ET is trying to get in. So, all right, so they're at the door. So all you people that have side gifts, you know, these are, I do believe, gifts of God. And I know there are people that say that anything like that is divining. And no. There are people that have gifts. It doesn't mean you go out and put a shingle out and say, I'll tell you your fortune. But yeah, they're going to be hitting you. And hey, some of you, check to see if you agree. Have you been contacted? Are they contacting you? You got to make sure they don't take over your mind and start telling you what to do. Go left, go. That's for God to do. You got to put more God in your heart. He'll say go left, right, or straight, because, you know, they'll lead you into a trap. You think you're doing good, and they'll lead you into, they could lead you out to a clearing out there and you bring your camera to photograph them, this is already happening. And then, they may pick you up, give you a little indoctrination, give you all this false hope, drop you back on earth so that you become a little propaganda machine. I know. It's on, baby, it's on. So, and I'm sure that the things I am saying will become utterly obsolete and people will laugh at us hicks here, us stupid, us idiots, us duped by the Zionist machine. Yes, we are duped by all that false theology. And since this is the new age and the age of increased knowledge, the real truth about the Bible and about E.T. and about all these things, it's going to come out. And the real truth about the Jews and the Gentiles and the people chosen, the real people and the ones discarded, that's all going to come out too. And the real truth about the good and bad nature of E.T., that's going to come out too. And the real truth about this new element of flying, yes, flying, walking through walls, all these skills are going to be offered. And to those people of God won't be offered, who will look all the more foolish. God bless you, each and every one of you. I hope you take it to heart. I mean, I can't do this every day. I can't worry about what... I don't want to dwell that much on the enemy, but, since the ET thing came up, and since the news items are flowing here, and like I say, my transom is overloaded with, don't vote, you're participating in Satan's kingdom. Okay? And then involved in the article is all the evidence of the synagogue of Satan and the Zionists and all the, going right down the line. And then it tracks back to Jeff Rentz's site, and then it tracks back to Alex Jones and, all over the place, huh? So I guess I was dropped into this. I don't even know why I'm here. Why I'm even on WWCR. I mean, WWCR is just another outlet for the same thing. I mean, I don't even know why I'm here even putting out a podcast, because where am I? Are there any friends out there? You guys? Or do you just look at everything like a smorgasbord? I'll take a little of that. I'll take a little of this. Oh, he's right on this. No, he's wrong on that. So it's all your own mind. If I tell you that I'm putting a word out for you, it's going to be subject to being debated, pissed away in some way. So nobody receives anything anymore. It's just all a big noise, a cacophony of noise, all these different channels, all these different stations having all their cacophony of noise. There's the denominations, and then there's the Catholic thing with E.T., and then there's the whole Zionist evangelical thing, and then there's this and that, and all the dupes, and then there are the real intellectuals who break away and have no faith in anything except their own immoral philosophy, and on and on and on and on. Just one big din of noise. Is that it? If I'm wrong, there is no return of Jesus. That the Jews blew it and their covenant is cut off. There's only one covenant, that's Jesus Christ. And I believe that since Yahweh is Jesus Christ, there was always one covenant. Abraham, through Jesus, to the Gentile, to the Jew, whatever, the people who believe in Jesus in the end, people that believe in God in the end, God meaning Jesus. I don't know. It's all been so skewed. The people that would accuse me of any kind of dual covenant, whatever, I've never even heard that term till recently. And I wasn't aware that there were two covenants. I wasn't aware that there's anything called group salvation. I thought it was all an individual decision. That individual, but then again, the people purveying this, I don't know if they believe in God or not. I don't know. I I can't say yes. Not now. So I don't know what this is all about. My theory is it's about promoting a political philosophy. That's, a Marxist political satanic philosophy, and to destroy the United States in every way, shape, and form possible. I think that's what it's really about, and to create cynicism, paranoia, fear-based consciousness in as many people as possible so they will not resist. That's what I think it is. I mean, there's my theory for today, and I got to go. I've used up this whole 2 hours here and counting, and I just can't. No, it's not quite 2 hours. It's getting there, though. I've done my best to present it. I started off being pretty tired, but I got wound up, and it went, and it's just. I think we need some bongos to close. So let me be the crazy man on the internet who has absolutely, I'm pushing an evil agenda. That's me. Do these bongos still work? Can you hear them? Ow. Can you hear them? I don't know what I do with this mic. Let's see. I put the mic there. I'm rusty. Wow. I'm rusty. Well, there you go. Zeph Daniel. It is the Zedjah. Zedjah, Z-E-D-J-A-H, zedjah.podomatic.com. Following zephreport.podomatic.com. Following zephDaniel.podomatic.com. There are three sets of podcasts. All the first two are filled. That is Zeph Report and No Religionistas. You can see those on Podomatic also. Or this one, zedjah.podomatic.com, is there for you. I thank you for keeping us going. Here is my Peter Finch salute. Lean your head out the window. Tell me you're mad as hell and you're not going to take it anymore. And I will see you next time. I love you. I'm praying for you. And a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Give yours to the Lord, and He'll enhance your individuality and the creativity of your mind. And go with that. Go with the light. Don't go with the darkness, because it's all about light. And we will be back with anything and everything, every tool at our disposal to keep us walking in the light with hope and joy like a child. Children don't think of all this cynical, dark stuff. But I suppose there's people that need to be rescued from their cynicism and from the political philosophers out there who are trying to shape hearts and minds to not, to be compliant. See you next time.